Good afternoon, and again, welcome to today's webinar. We will have ASL interpretation and closed captioning available throughout the presentation. Our ASL interpreters are pinned to the top in a spotlight for today's session. Additionally, we will be offering Spanish translation services. This webinar is being recorded and will be emailed to all registrants. The webinar will also then be later on available at abletoday.org/SSA. Upon conclusion of today's webinar, our ABLE experts will continue with an answer session for ABLE-related questions. And most importantly, we'd like to give a special thanks to the United States Social Security Administration for their collaboration on this webinar. As we begin, we'd like to introduce Mark Raymond Jr. Mark is the National Outreach Lead for ABLE Today, where he builds partnerships and raises awareness on the positive impacts of ABLE accounts throughout the disability community. Mark is also the CEO and founder of the Split Second Foundation, an organization committed to breaking barriers for people with disabilities. Mark's life changed in a split second when a tragic accident left him a C5 quadriplegic. That tick of the clock will forever influence who Mark is, pushing him to advocate for millions of others by making that split second a life filled with awareness, hope, and action. Additionally, Mark serves as the chairman of the Board of Commissioners for the Regional Transit Authority in New Orleans, overseeing the administration, operations, and maintenance of the Transit Authority. Please welcome Mark Raymond Jr. as today's moderator.
Thank you, Eric, and welcome everyone to today's webinar on ABLE accounts and Social Security benefits. It is my pleasure to moderate this webinar today as a part of the work that I've committed myself to doing as a member of the disability space is educating and advocating that everyone knows all of the tools available as you progress and try to live the highest quality of life possible. With that, I'm going to move now to introduce our first speaker, Stacey Garrity, who is the treasurer of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and chair of the ABLE Savings Plan Network that you will hear frequently referred to as ASPEN. As the 78th treasurer of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, businesswoman and retired U.S. Army Reserve Colonel Stacey Garrity oversees an office of more than 300 employees and is tasked with protecting more than $150 billion in state assets. Among her many duties, she serves as a fiscal watchdog for the state, manages the PA 529 College and Career Savings Program and the PA ABLE Savings Program. She also administers the state's unclaimed property program. Help me and welcome Stacey Garrity.
Thank you, Mark. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. The ABLE Savings Plan Network is always excited to partner with the Social Security Administration to help more people learn about ABLE plans and how they interact with Social Security representative payees and SSA reporting requirements. Thanks to ABLE, so many of our friends and our neighbors with disabilities now have an opportunity to live more independently and build real financial security. Now, before ABLE, too many Americans couldn't do that, which was really disgraceful. Now, more than 163,000 ABLE accounts are open across the country with more than $1.74 billion invested in ABLE accounts nationally. So it's clear that ABLE is changing lives for the better. I'm so proud of the great work being done by the ABLE Savings Plan Network to get the word out to the millions of people who can benefit from ABLE plans and its worth to strengthen ABLE programs. So I want to thank the Social Security Administration for their continued partnership to help us share important information about ABLE programs. Also, I want to thank SSA Commissioner Martin O'Malley for meeting with us at the National Association of State Treasurers Legislative Conference. His support is critical in ensuring ABLE's continued success. ABLE has very strong roots in Pennsylvania. The federal legislation to create ABLE programs was spearheaded by U.S. Senator Bob Casey, and his ABLE Age Adjustment Act, which was enacted in 2022, will expand access to ABLE to millions more Americans, including 1 million veterans, starting in January 2026. Pennsylvania's PA ABLE program opened its first account in 2017 and already has more than, well, just about $120 million in assets across more than 8,700 accounts. In fact, our assets have nearly tripled over the past 3 years. Helping the public understand ABLE programs and how to use them is important because it helps Americans with disabilities and their families plan for a secure future without losing access to important benefits. So thank you again for joining us today to learn more about how SSA benefits interact with ABLE programs. And now I will turn things back over to the National Outreach Lead for ABLE Today, Mark Raymond Jr. Mark.
Thank you, Treasurer Garrity. But before you go, we work so closely in the outreach and marketing and promotion of ABLE nationwide from Aspen. My question for you is, what is your goal for ABLE plans for the upcoming year?
I love that question, Mark. Thank you. So my biggest priority, I would have to say, is to continue working with Congress to ensure that the 3 sunsetting ABLE-related provisions remain in place, and that's so the ABLE accounts remain the effective and empowering tools that they are. So these provisions, it includes the ability to roll over 529 funds to ABLE plans, keeping the savers credit available for ABLE account contributions, and keeping ABLE to work in place, which allows working account owners to contribute more than the standard annual contribution limit. These are important benefits for ABLE account owners, and we cannot let them expire. So I know that we're going to find allies in Congress to get this done, and I look forward to working with Aspen and my colleagues from across the country to make it happen.
Thank you, Treasurer Garrity, and thank you again for joining us today and talking more about the work that you do with the ABLE Savings Plan Network and all that you do for in public service for people with disabilities.
My honor.
Okay. The National Association of State Treasurers, that you will hear frequently referred to as NAST, hosts the only national working alliance for all achieving a better life experience, ABLE programs. Called the ABLE Savings Plan Network, Aspen. Aspen is a working alliance of state ABLE program administrators and industry stakeholders substantively coordinating on industry issues, advocacy, and outreach. Additionally, the NAST Foundation launched ABLE Today, which supports national outreach for ABLE programs, directly engages the disability community, and provides resources on ABLE accounts. Together, Aspen and ABLE Today work to empower individuals with disabilities toward more independent and secure futures by offering tools and resources on the benefits of ABLE accounts. ABLE accounts can be used for disability-related expenses without losing access to federal means-tested benefits. Next slide, please. In today's webinar, you can expect to learn the benefits of owning an ABLE account, the relationship between ABLE accounts and Social Security disability benefits, i.e. income and asset test, how representative payees work with ABLE accounts, understanding of ABLE-related information that must be provided to SSA, and more information on SSA benefits and ABLE accounts. It is now my pleasure to introduce you to our first 2 panelists, John Finch and Jolene Weiler. John Finch. At the Florida Prepaid College Board, John Finch serves as the director of ABLE United, Florida's ABLE program. John joined Florida Prepaid in 2016 to launch ABLE United and manages its continued success, having helped over 10,000 Floridans save over $70 million for qualified disability expenses. John also serves as the treasurer for the ABLE Savings Plan Network, a network comprised of ABLE program administrators around the country. Previously, he served 10 years in the disability field at the ARC of Florida in various capacities. John resides in Tallahassee, and his wife and 3 active boys serves as an elder of his local church and enjoys playing board games in his spare time. Jolene Weiler is the director for the Utah Work Incentive Planning Services with Utah State Office of Rehabilitation. In addition to her role at UWIPS, Jolene is also the program coordinator for ABLE Utah, She provides services to individuals receiving Social Security disability benefits so they can make an informed choice about working and their benefits. Jolene graduated from the University of Utah with a bachelor's degree in sociology. She is currently serving as the vice president on the board of directors of the National Association of Benefits and Work Incentive Specialists. Welcome, John and Jolene.
Thank you, Mark. So imagine if individuals with disabilities could actually save more than $2,000 in their name, to do so without impacting public benefit programs and with the help of their family, friends, and even organizations. Well, this dream started over 2 decades ago when a group of families, parents of young children, sat around a dining room table wondering why they couldn't save without negatively impacting their child's future. But through their hard work and advocacy, ABLE was born. It now allows millions of Americans across the country to be able to save money in their name, not impact their public benefits, and still receive help from their family and friends. It really is a game changer from a monthly savings plan to really a lifetime financial plan. And this is all made possible through ABLE accounts. So let's take a step and talk about where we are on a national landscape. Before we do that, let's make sure we understand what ABLE accounts really are. ABLE accounts, high level, are tax advantage savings and investment tools that allows individuals with a variety of disabilities to be able to put money aside and then use it as they see fit to pay for a variety of qualified disability expenses. And to do all of this without impacting their public benefit programs. If you look at ABLE accounts nationwide, each state has to pass their own state legislation and launch their own ABLE program. So these programs are run by the states. To date, over 46 states, including District of Columbia, have passed legislation and launched ABLE programs. Some of them are for in-state residents only, and some have nationwide enrollment. Through the end of last year, over 163,000 ABLE accounts have been launched, saving together over $1.74 billion in assets. A huge purchasing price where just 8 years ago, that wasn't even allowed. Now, individuals can have these ABLE accounts and save for a variety of financial expenditures that they may have during their lifetime. States may have unique state tax deductions or credits. Individuals are allowed to save without impacting their public benefits, and we'll speak more and directly from Social Security Administration as it relates to that. And something exciting that recently passed is the ABLE Age Adjustment Act that goes into effect January of 2026, which will now allow millions of more Americans who had a disability diagnosed after the age of 26 to utilize an ABLE account for the first time. If you're interested in learning more about what your state's ABLE program is, visit abletoday.org/ABLE-programs. Next slide, please.
John, can you speak a little bit louder for our participants too?
Yes, thank you, Mark. So let's talk about some of the key features of an ABLE account. As we mentioned already, tax-free earnings, doesn't impact public benefits. Some of the additional rules, one is the annual contribution limit, how much you can put in. This year, that rate is up to $18,000, which allows even more money to go into an ABLE account. This allows individuals to not have to spend down and actually save or invest their money. Also unique is that whoever is eligible for the account is also the owner and beneficiary of the account. And when I pass this over to Jolene, she'll talk about how others can help them manage those funds. It's important to note that ABLE accounts shelter how much somebody has on hand, or what we call resources. It does not shelter income. The most you can have in an ABLE account depends on your state legislation, but that ranges from 300,000 to 500,000. Typically, there's no cap on how much you have in the account before it impacts Medicaid. Meanwhile, as you'll hear later, SSI does have a limit of $100,000 before it could impact SSI benefits. Individuals are only allowed to have one ABLE account nationwide. As I mentioned, each state might be only open for their residents. Some may have national enrollment. Although we're not talking in detail about special needs trust, for some unique situations and for some families, an ABLE account may be a better option than a special needs trust. So who's actually eligible to have an ABLE account? There's three criteria. First, an individual has to have a disability of a diagnosis prior to age 26. That disability does have to impact them for at least 12 months or for a lifetime. And it has to be severe. And by severity, it's one of the three following criteria. They're currently receiving supplemental security income or Social Security disability insurance based on their disability. They have a disability listed on SSA's compassionate allowance list, or they can self-certify or certify that they have a diagnosis of a physical or mental impairment. Some states may require you to submit that documentation or letter. It's important to note, just because you're not receiving public benefits like SSI, SSDI, or even Medicaid, you may still qualify for an ABLE account. With that, I'm going to now turn it over to Jolene, who's going to talk more about actually using the account. Jolene?
Thank you so much, John. Can we go to the next slide? So I get to talk about getting money into your ABLE account. The ABLE program offers a variety of options for getting money into your account, whether it be by general banking, depositing money electronically, or by check. And that includes not only the individual with the disability, but if friends or family members or others, they can deposit by a gift, inheritances, insurance settlements, and distributions from special needs trusts. Some programs in the country do allow for direct deposit, and you can roll over your funds from a 529 college savings account or from another ABLE program. Next slide, please. So now let's talk about withdrawing money from your account. And different programs have various options to be able to withdraw money from your ABLE account. Some programs allow you to have a checkbook and write checks directly out of your ABLE account. Others allow debit cards or prepaid debit cards. And some programs allow for third-party checks where you can indicate where you want that check to be written, and it will be written directly out of your ABLE account. Now, the last one here is a bank transfer. So you can transfer money from your ABLE account into a personal checking or savings account. Now, one thing with transferring money into your bank account is that ABLE programs have a very robust tracking feature to allow you to be able to potentially upload receipts and make notes on the purchases you make out of your ABLE account. And once that money goes into a personal checking or savings account, you become responsible for tracking that expense and what you spent it on, because the tracking features aren't available in your personal accounts. Next slide, please. So the fun part, spending the funds out of an ABLE account. The IRS has stated that you can spend funds on what are called qualified disability expenses. And those are expenses that are incurred as a result of a disability and are intended to help maintain or improve health, greater independence, or quality of life. Now, this was a fairly broad definition of qualified disability expenses, And although they provide a list here that has things like housing and rent, transportation, healthcare and wellness, basic living expenses, funeral and burial expenses, and you can read the rest of them here. It's not exhaustive, and it can include expenses beyond those that are listed. Okay. Opening and managing your account, your ABLE account. An eligible adult with legal capacity can open and administer their own account. And that's a real power in the ABLE accounts. But they can also choose to grant authority to another adult to open and manage their ABLE account for them. An authorized signatory can be an individual or an organization, and the IRS has set up what's called a hierarchy. So the list of who can assist an individual in opening and managing their ABLE accounts. And that is a power of attorney, a conservator, a guardian, a spouse, parent, sibling, grandparent, and representative payee. So the individual that wants to open the ABLE account can choose one of the individuals on this list unless someone higher on the list is willing and able to assist them in managing their ABLE account. Next slide, please. So let's talk about some Social Security specifics. Gifts that are put into the ABLE account, so money gifts are not counted as SSI resources, even if they're deposited into the ABLE account. That is a really powerful part of ABLE to allow individuals to be able to put money into an individual with disabilities ABLE account. And then also, Social Security is always going to count income. The ABLE account is for assets, but Social Security counts wages and other income from outside your ABLE account. They're counted against the Social Security income test, even if they're deposited into your ABLE account. So your wages and other income. And then some states will, well, actually, SSA benefits may be contributed to your ABLE account. Some programs allow Social Security funds to be directly deposited into your ABLE account. Next slide, please. Here are some notes for representative payees. It's important to know that Social Security rules still apply to Social Security funds that are deposited in an ABLE account. If you are a representative payee of an individual with an ABLE account, Social Security states that you must be the individual that is managing the ABLE account. So the checking and savings account title must show the beneficiary's ownership of the funds, but show the representative payee as the financial agent and account support person. So even though the individual is the owner of the funds, they don't have authorized signatory over the funds if Social Security funds are deposited into the account if you have a representative payee. And then if you are no longer a representative payee for the individual, it's important that you contact your local Social Security office to discuss transferring control to either a new representative payee or to the individual themselves, rather than just removing the funds from the ABLE account and sending them back to Social Security. Next slide, please. One more note for representative payees. Looks like we're switching interpreters. ABLE accounts may hold funds from a variety of sources, so gifts and other deposits that are not Social Security funds. And there are incentives to encourage contributions by the individual's family and friends. And generally, Social Security, they don't recommend mixing those funds with Social Security funds. So it is important that a representative payee maintain a record-keeping system to differentiate the Social Security benefits from other funds and how they spend those Social Security funds in your ABLE account. We have given you on this slide 3 really helpful web links. One is to the Social Security Representative Payee program on the Social Security website that talks about payees and ABLE accounts. And another one is a guide for representative payees. And then the third one is from the Program and Operations Manual for Social Security that talks about representative payees' responsibilities and duties. Thank you very much. And I'm going to turn the time back over to Mark.
Thank you, John and Jolene, for all of the information relative to ABLE. We're now going to switch hats to the U.S. Social Security Administration's panelist. Next slide, please. It's my pleasure to introduce Laura Zellick and Betsy Blair. Laura works at SSA headquarters as a policy analyst in the Office of Representative Payee and Due Process Policy. As a policy analyst, she assists in the development of ABLE policy and procedure and works to improve agency guidance on the use of ABLE accounts by representative payees. She holds a bachelor's degree in sociology from the University of Maryland, College Park. Ms. Blair works at SSA headquarters as a policy analyst on the SSI Income and Resources team. Prior to working at the agency, she was employed by State of Maryland and specialized in eligibility policy for income assistance programs such as Medicaid, SNAP, and TANF. She holds a bachelor's degree in psychology from St. Mary's College of Maryland and earned a master's degree in human resources management from the University of Maryland University College. Welcome, 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 ladies. You can go to the next slide, please. So Laura, my first question is for you. If I'm an ABLE account owner managing the account for myself, do I need to report my ABLE account to SSA? If I'm a rep payee managing the account for someone else, do I need to report the ABLE account to SSA?
Hi, Mark. Thank you. I'm excited to be here. I have a lot of information to share on this topic, but if any of the listeners feel that they've missed something, please know that there will be a resources slide at the end of the presentation. So let's get right into it. If you've received supplemental security income or SSI or are a representative payee for someone receiving SSI, you must report any changes to your living arrangements, your resources, and income. This reporting includes when you open an ABLE account, when your balance exceeds $100,000, when you take a distribution for housing expenses or non-qualified disability expenses, also known as QDEs. When you use a distribution you've been saving for a QDE on a housing or non-qualifying expense. When you receive money directly from someone else intended as an ABLE account contribution that you then deposit into your ABLE account. If the contribution from someone else goes directly to your ABLE account, it does not count as your income. If it goes to you first and you then deposit it into your ABLE account, it counts as your income. If you close or transfer your ABLE account, if you are ever unsure whether an ABLE account related change will affect your SSI, you should report it. If you are a representative payee for a person receiving any type of Social Security benefits, you're responsible for keeping records and reporting how the benefits were spent or conserved. This record-keeping requirement applies to funds held in an ABLE account. all representative payees must report to us about the use of benefits upon request. Representative payees must also complete a report annually, unless they're exempt. Non-exempt representative payees report on the use of benefits by completing a representative payee report. Those forms are the SSA 623, the SSA 6230, the SSA 6234, or the SSA 6233 that we mail to the representative payee once a year. Representative payees can also file the report online using the Internet Representative Payee Accounting, known as IRPA, which gives the representative payee an option to complete the form online, or the My Representative Payee Accounting software, and that's called MyIRPA, and that's another tool which is available through My Social Security.
Okay, Laura, what types of SS benefits programs, i.e. SSI, SSDI, adult child benefits, or deceased retirement program, require ABLE programs to report ABLE account information?
Great question. Because SSI is a means-tested program, and ABLE accounts and distributions can sometimes affect SSI eligibility, SSI recipients and representative payees for recipients must report ABLE account information and changes. Social Security disability insurance benefits, childhood disability benefits, sometimes known as disabled adult child benefits, retirement and survivors insurance benefits are not means-tested programs, and therefore the reporting requirements are different. You do not need to report ABLE account changes unless some or all of your benefits come from SSI. For the SSI program, SSA receives information from most state ABLE programs about ABLE account balances and the prior month's distribution information. However, it is still the SSI recipient or the representative payee's responsibility to report changes. Representative payees must follow annual accounting requirements, regardless which Social Security program the individual receives. Representative payees are responsible for keeping records showing how they spent or conserved benefits on behalf of the individual. Some representative payees may be required to annually report on their use of benefits by completing a representative payee report form. And those form numbers, again, are the SSA 623, the SSA 6230, the SSA 6234, or the SSA 6233, or by using the online IRPA or MyIRPA software.
Okay, Laura, so why does ABLE account information have to be reported?
For SSI, sometimes ABLE accounts and distributions affect eligibility and payment amounts. For example, the amount that any ABLE account balance exceeds $100,000 counts towards the SSI resource limit of $2,000 for individuals and $3,000 for couples. Distributions made for housing expenses and non-qualified disability expenses count as a resource when they aren't spent the same month they were received. If you receive money directly and you deposit it into your ABLE account, that money still counts as your income and can affect your SSI payment. For these reasons, it is important to let SSA know about ABLE account changes. The representative payees have to report because they're responsible for keeping records and reporting about how they spent or conserved the benefits. All representative payees must report to us on the use of benefits upon request. Representative payees must complete the representative payee report annually unless they're exempt.
Okay, so what specific information must I report to SSA about my account or someone else's ABLE account on which I serve as the rep payee? Is there a difference in what is reported if I am an account owner versus a rep payee?
Another great question. Thank you. When you receive SSI, you must report the same information we shared in question 1 for yourself or on behalf of the individual if you're a representative payee. And that is when you open an ABLE account, when your balance exceeds $100,000, when you take a distribution for housing expenses or non-qualified disability expenses. When you use a distribution you've been saving for a QDE on a housing or non-qualifying expense. When you receive money directly from someone else intended as an ABLE account contribution that you then deposit into your ABLE account. If that contribution from someone else goes directly to your ABLE account, it does not count as your income. If it goes to you first and then you deposit it in your ABLE account, it counts as your income. If you close or transfer your ABLE account, certain representative payees must complete a representative payee report for any benefits that were paid during the 12-month period. The report must be completed annually, and it details how the representative payee spent or held benefits on behalf of the individual. This includes food, housing, personal items, and any unused benefits that were saved or conserved, including any interest earned. If you were appointed as a representative payee, you will be responsible for completing the annual representative payee report for how you spent and saved the benefits on behalf of the individual. Representative payees who choose to place benefits in an ABLE account must follow the general rules for managing benefits. There are no exceptions for representative payees.
Okay, so when must I report ABLE information to SSA?
So for SSI, you should report changes to resources and income as soon as you can, but no later than 10 days after the close of the month in which the change happens. Generally, rep payees must complete an accounting once a year of how they used or saved benefits using the representative payee report forms. And again, those forms are the SSA 623, the SSA 6230, the SSA 6234, or the SSA 6233. And we also offer the option of the iIRPA or the MyIRPA software for completing these online.
Okay, how do I provide the information to SSA? Are there forms? Where do I find them? Is there an online method? Where do I go?
Okay,
me.
so to report ABLE account related changes for SSI, you can visit, you can fax, or you can write any Social Security office, or you can even call our toll-free number. And that number is 1-800-772-1213. There aren't any forms that you must use, but currently you cannot report ABLE account changes using SSA's online services. In addition, all non-exempt representative payees must report on the use of benefits by returning a completed representative payee report. And one more time, those forms are the SSA 623, the SSA 6230, the SSA 6234, or the SSA 6233, or by filling out the forms online using iIRPA or MyIRPA.
Thank you, Laura. What is the specific POM section that states that ABLE account details must be shared with SSA?
Sure. SSA POMs are instructions for SSA staff, and they tell the staff when and how a person's circumstances could affect SSI eligibility or payment, and it tells them how to process cases. These are not instruction manuals for the public. ABLE account information must be reported because certain balances and distributions could be counted as a resource for SSI. The SSA POMS instructions that describe when and how ABLE accounts and related matters can affect SSI can be found at SI 01130.740. The program rules that say what a person must report are in the Code of Federal Regulations at 20 CFR section 416.708. Regulations stating when a person must report can be found at 20 CFR section 416.714. And additional information for the public can be found in these publications: the Understanding SSI website which can be found at www.ssa.gov/SSI/understanding-SSI.htm. What you need to know when you get SSI, and that is a PDF resource. And lastly, the spotlight on ABLE, which can be found at www.ssa.gov/SSI/spot-able.html.
Can an SSI claims representative pull ABLE account information directly from an ABLE program?
SSI claims representatives sometimes can see ABLE account information. Some states share information with SSA about ABLE account balances. However, it's still the responsibility of the SSI recipient or the representative payee to report ABLE account related changes.
Okay, so let's say I'm an SSA beneficiary who owns an ABLE account. Can I use the My Social Security Account platform to report information about my ABLE account to Social Security? Can a rep payee set up a My Social Security account for a beneficiary for whom the representative payee opens and manages an ABLE account?
No, at this time, my Social Security accounts cannot accept reports of ABLE account related changes for SSI.
So SSA will not talk to me about my disabled sister's SSA benefits because someone else is the representative payee for her. I am the signatory on her ABLE account. SSA requires ABLE account information to be reported to SSA. So whose responsibility is it to get the information to SSA, and how do they submit it?
I'm glad you asked this. A person with signature authority over an ABLE account may administer the account on behalf of an individual. However, having signature authority over an ABLE account is not the same as being a representative payee. Representative payees are responsible for reporting events that could affect eligibility for benefit or payment amounts. If you have signature authority over someone else's ABLE account, but you are not their representative payee, you are not responsible for reporting information directly to us. However, since funds held in the ABLE account could affect the individual's payments, you should cooperate with the individual's representative payee so that they may provide information as necessary to ensure that benefits are accurate and timely. As a reminder, a representative payee should not conserve benefits in an ABLE account if the representative payee does not have signature authority over the account.
Thank you, Laura. Now, Betsy, I have some questions for you related to income, asset tests, and ABLE accounts.
Hi, Mark. I'm happy to be here.
We're happy to have you. What money is treated by SSA as income when doing the income test for SSI benefits? Insurance settlements or payouts, gifts, paychecks, SSA back benefits and lump sum payments, college scholarships and grants, capital gains and dividends from investments, other.
Well, for SSI benefits, we define income as anything an individual receives in cash or in kind that can be used to meet their needs for food and shelter. So all of the above income sources listed above could count for the SSI income test. However, we don't count every penny of income a person has. For example, we count less than half of an SSI recipient's earned income. Additionally, some types of income are completely excluded by law. In the context of ABLE accounts, we generally don't count contributions someone else deposits directly to an SSI recipient's ABLE account.
So is a contribution to an ABLE account treated by the SSA as income that would be included in the income test for SSI benefits?
Well, the way it works is when a third party makes a contribution directly to an ABLE account using money that doesn't belong to the SSI recipient, the contribution is not counted as income. For example, if a family member directly deposits $1,000 into an SSI recipient's ABLE account, it is not counted as income. When the SSI recipient contributes to their own ABLE account, the contribution is not income, but the income source they used for the contribution might be. So, if a family member gave the SSI recipient $1,000 in cash, and the SSI recipient deposited that cash into their ABLE account, we count the $1,000 as income. If an SSI recipient directly deposits their paychecks into an ABLE account, we still count the paychecks as earned income.
Okay, so how can SSI benefits be spent? How can SSDI benefits be spent? And how can leftover benefits be spent?
Well, we don't restrict how people spend their benefits, but when receiving SSI, beware of the resource limits. Individuals with more than $2,000 in countable resources are not eligible for SSI. For couples, that limit is $3,000. If a recipient saves benefits until the next month, and then those benefits would be counted as a resource. If leftover money is placed in an ABLE account, we do not count up to $100,000 of the ABLE account balance.
So when does SSA look at that $100,000 asset value? Example, I receive SSI benefits. My ABLE account might go over $100,000 in value at the beginning of the month because of the strong growth in my investments. It might then go back down below $100,000 before the end of the same month because of a decline in value of my investments.
Great question. We count resource values as of the first moment of the month. We pay attention to the closing value as of the last day of the month or the opening value on the first day of the month, whichever the financial institution provides us. If the account is over $100,000 at that time, any value over the $100,000 is a countable resource for that month.
Okay, thanks, Betsy. Now I have some questions related to the SSI versus SSDI and ABLE accounts. Please make the distinction between SSI, SSDI, and DAC.
Okay, sure. Supplemental Security Income, or SSI, is a means-tested program, which means that a person must have low income and resources to qualify for payments. If a person gets SSI, they must report their ABLE account balance and activity since it could affect their eligibility. Social Security Disability Insurance, or SSDI benefits, are for people with disabilities or blindness, and they are based on a person's work history and earnings. A person who receives SSDI has worked enough to be insured, and their benefit amount is based on their earnings. Childhood disability benefits, sometimes referred to as disabled adult child benefits, is based on the parent's earning record. The parent needs to be receiving Social Security benefits due to retirement or disability, or have passed away with enough earnings to qualify, and the child must have been disabled prior to the age of 22. It's interesting to note that some people receive benefits from more than one program at a time.
So how can I find out which benefit program I'm on?
Well, if you have a My Social Security account, you can go online to print a benefit verification letter. You may also write, fax, or visit any Social Security office or call our toll-free number at 1-800-772-1213.
Okay, what are the different restrictions, asset caps, and effects on benefits between owning an ABLE account if the account owner is on SSI, SSDI, or DAC?
Well, the only SSA program in which an ABLE account could affect benefits is SSI. For SSI, sometimes ABLE accounts and distributions affect eligibility and payment amount. For example, ABLE account balances over $100,000 count toward the resource limit of $2,000 for individuals and $3,000 for couples. Distributions made for housing expenses and non-qualified disability expenses count as a resource when they aren't spent in the same month they were received. If an SSI recipient receives money directly and deposits it into their ABLE account, money still counts as their income and can affect the SSI payment. In terms of ABLE program eligibility, we do not set limits or make determinations. For more information about ABLE account restrictions and saving limits, you should contact the state ABLE program or the IRS.
Okay, Betsy, so the SSI Spotlight webpage talks only about SSI. Does SSA offer a similar page for SSDI?
No, we don't have a page that specifically addresses SSDI because having an ABLE account doesn't affect SSDI. The SSDI program doesn't consider a person's resources when making an eligibility determination.
Okay, one last time. So will I lose SSI and or SSDI benefits if I have an ABLE account?
You will not lose SSI benefits if you monitor your ABLE account balance to ensure you're within the required SSI account balance threshold. The SSI program only excludes ABLE account balances up to $100,000. If your ABLE account balance is higher than that, we would count amounts over $100,000 toward the SSI resource limit. When a person exceeds the resource limit, they're not eligible for SSI. Some ABLE account distributions that aren't spent in the month they're received may also be counted as resources. And for these reasons, it's important to let us know about any ABLE account changes. As for SSDI benefits, as we mentioned earlier, SSDI benefits do not consider resources, so having an ABLE account does not affect eligibility. And Mark, I think that's the end of our questions. So now I'd like to share some SSI online resources with you. Does that sound okay?
Yes, please do.
Okay. The first one is the SSA ABLE Spotlight page, and it can be found at https://www.ssa.gov/ssa/spot-able.html. You can find a lot of great general information there, as well as a list of FAQs. The second one is the SSA My Account, and it can be found at https://www.ssa.gov/myaccount/. This one allows Title II beneficiaries to make changes to their account. Another one is the SSA ABLE Palms, and they can be found at https://www.ssa.gov/. You then have to search for the POMS, POMS, from the table of contents. You can select GH and 02402.005 for an introduction to the Electronic Payment Initiative, or select SI and 01130.740 for Achieving a Better Life ABLE accounts. Okay, we have
Thank
a
you,
few
Betsy.
other. Thank you, Mark. We have a couple more resources that we mentioned during the presentation, and we want to cover them again just in case you missed them. The representative payee forms are the first ones, and the first form is SSA-623, which is a representative payee report. SSA-636230 is a representative payee report for children. SSA-6234 is a representative payee report. And the last one is SSA-6233, which is a representative payee report of benefits and dedicated account. We also have a couple of sites that might be helpful to you. So let me mention those. We have the IRPA, which is the Internet Representative Payee Accounting. We have the MyRPA, which is the Representative Payee Accounting. A couple more are the Understanding SSI website, which has a wealth of information about SSI, including spotlights about ABLE, income counting, resources, and also how to report changes. It can be found at https://www.ssa.gov/SSI-text-understanding-SSI.htm. We have one more. It's a great publication to check out. It's called What You Need to Know When You Get SSI. And you can find that at https:// www.ssa.gov/pubs-em-05-11011. These are also available on the slides if anyone wanted to jot them down, and you can check them out later. There's some really good information out there. Mark, I think that's all SSA has for you today. So I want to thank you for inviting us so we could share some valuable ABLE information.
Thank you, Betsy. I'm sure everyone appreciates all of the answers to the questions and all of the information that you just shared.
Well, thank you very much.
Next slide, please. To add some additional helpful ABLE resources on ABLE and SSA, you can visit abletoday.org/SSA to watch this webinar and for additional information. For ABLE federal regulation information, visit abletoday.org/regulations. For ABLE-related resources, including the ABLE Act, SSA, Medicaid, HUD, IRS, SNAP, and FAFSA. Additionally, research ABLE programs via the ABLE Today website, abletoday.org/able-programs. You can also learn more about ABLE. Next slide, please. ABLE accounts are a game changer for financial empowerment and community inclusion. So please visit abletoday.org. The ABLE Today team is really here to help. You can send us an email, we respond quickly. We also do private consultations and explain all of this information as much as we possibly can, because that's what we do. We also built out a specific page with American Sign Language that you can find at abletoday.org/ASL. In an effort to be as communicative as possible, my lovely co-host for our ABLE Today podcast, Sarah Hart-Ware, and I launched a show to really be able to share resources specific to the disability community. You can find all of those episodes at abletoday.org/podcast. And lastly, if you want to analyze all of the ABLE programs, you can visit abletoday.org/analyze-able-programs. I want to extend my gratitude again to all of our panelists and Treasurer Garrity, John, Jolene, and our lovely ladies from the Social Security Administration, Laura and Betsy. This has been a really impactful webinar, and I hope that every participant got something out of this. We are now going to end the webinar and take a 1-minute break before we begin an additional opportunity for attendees to join in an ABLE-related question and answer session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mark. We're going to take a brief pause and start just in here in a few minutes for ABLE-related questions. Several of the questions have come in about taxes and qualified disability expenses, so just please hang on for 1 second, and we'll get going on the question and answers. Thank you. Okay, as we begin, we'd like to ask Mark Raymond Jr., Jolene Weiler, and John Finch to rejoin us on video. We will continue offering ASL interpretation and Spanish translation. Mark will be proposing several questions to both John and Jolene, and we're going to offer to hopefully help answer more ABLE-related questions for our attendees. Mark?
Thank you, Eric. I want to just restate that the webinar will be sent to everyone and the slides will be included in the recording. I would like to also mention that on April 24th, we are doing another ABLE webinar with Autism Speaks. Here's the info. The Autism Speaks, empowering people with autism through inclusive hiring and ABLE accounts. You're invited to join ABLE Today and Autism Speaks for a national webinar marking World Autism Awareness Month and National Financial Literacy Month. This webinar is specifically designed for the autism community, employers, HR, and DEI executives to learn about the power of ABLE accounts for individuals with autism, family members, and caregivers, how to leverage ABLE accounts as a workplace benefit, and how to tap Autism Speaks workplace inclusion now, otherwise known as WIN, to help expand your workforce inclusion. That will happen on Wednesday, April 24th, 2024 at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. We are only going to answer ABLE-related questions as we now begin the question and answer portion of our webinar. John, my first question is for you. John, the ABLE age adjustment passed and will expand the eligibility age for even more people with disabilities to have an ABLE account. Can you give more insights into the age update and when does it start? Thanks.
Great. So the Able Age Adjustment Act passed a few years ago and allowed that age to of onset or diagnosis move from 26 to 46. Now that takes place January 1st of 2026. My good friends in Ohio always has a saying of 26 to 46 in 2026. So if you can remember that catchy phrase, and what this does is allow a lot of individuals who have a later in life diagnosis. Mark, I believe when that passes, you'll be eligible to have an ABLE account. Same with other individuals in your situation. You may see more individuals with a mental health diagnosis, multiple sclerosis, a variety of other later onset types of disabilities. At that point, will now be able to utilize an ABLE account.
Thank you, John. Jolene, my next question is for you. Can you highlight some ways that funds in an ABLE account can be spent? What are all of things that can be bought with ABLE accounts? And then what is something that ABLE cannot be spent on? Is spring break season, can ABLE be spent on vacations?
That's a great question, Mark. Thank you so much. So again, spending your funds out of your ABLE account have to be spent on those what are called qualified disability expenses. But the IRS made that definition very broad. The definition of it are expenses incurred as a result of a disability and are intended to help maintain or improve health, greater independence, or quality of life. So you mentioned that vacation. Does it help improve your quality of life? Yes, it does. A couple of things that we've talked about that may not be a qualified disability expense might be giving money to another individual or gambling. But if it can be justified under those qualified disability expense definitions, then it can be potentially spent on out of your ABLE account and withdrawn from your ABLE account.
Love it. Thank you, Jolene. John, can you provide some more context and information on ABLE accounts related to taxes and the IRS? Which tax forms are provided with ABLE accounts? And then follow up, are there tax benefits for having an ABLE account?
Great. So yes, when you open an ABLE account, you got to remember these are tax advantage investment accounts, which goes back to the IRS. The Treasury oversees the IRS, and they will issue some tax forms depending on how you utilize your account. First, when you establish an account, it creates a 5498 QA. That's basically a form that's telling the IRS that this individual, name, social, has established an ABLE account, how you're eligible for that ABLE account, and the current balance. Now, during the year, if you make a withdrawal from your ABLE account, you will trigger another tax form known as a 1099 QA. That tax form was going to say how much you withdrew for the whole entire calendar year, how much of it was earnings, and how much of it was basis. Basis is another term for how much money or how much money's been put into the account, not how much actually earned on it. Now it's up to you to keep receipts and documentation to match how much you had withdrawn from the year and that you have that many qualified disability expenses. And as Jolene mentioned, that's pretty broad. If you think of housing, that could be your utilities, that could be your insurance, property taxes, expanding your home, making it more accessible, or even transportation, whether it be buying a vehicle or taking a lift to go to your favorite place to eat. So pretty broad. So as long as you can qualify that. Now, the next question we often receive is like, okay, what am I supposed to do with these tax forms? Do I have to file taxes? Not necessarily. As long as you have receipts and documentation that you meet how much withdrawals you had from the year and qualified disability expenses, then you don't have to report those earnings. Now, let's say you went the whole year and for some reason didn't have any qualified disability expenses. You didn't eat, you didn't buy anything for yourself. Then at that point, you would have to pay taxes on the earnings portion of your withdrawals plus a 10% penalty.
Thanks, John. Jolene, can you explain the difference for ABLE accounts related to assets shield versus income shield? Attendees are asking about money coming into the account. If it is income from wages, does it affect benefits like SSI or SSDI?
I actually love that question because the ABLE accounts are asset shielding accounts. They do not shield your income. So it is very important for an individual with a disability who is receiving any kind of Social Security benefits to be able to understand how work is going to affect their benefits. Social Security has funded what are called work incentive planning assistance agencies throughout the United States that you can reach through the Social Security website. And they can help you understand how work will affect those benefits. Other income, as was stated by Social Security, if someone puts money into your ABLE account, then that is not necessarily counted against your SSI. I work with an individual who has said, you know, my parents put an amount of money in every single month. That is all right against their SSI because it doesn't flow through that individual. If the money comes to the individual first, then it is counted as income. But if the money goes directly into your ABLE account, then the social SSI is not going to count that.
Thank you, Jolene. John, regarding income, there are extra contributions that can be made to ABLE accounts through the Able to Work expanded contributions for workers with disabilities. Can you explain the added benefits for the opportunity to add monies related to wages?
Yeah, and as Jolene mentioned, if you deposit directly your income or wages into an ABLE account, it's still going to count as income. But there are unique incentives for utilizing your ABLE account as a retirement account. So basically what the Able to Work Adjustment Act did was allow individuals that were working and not currently saving for retirement to contribute to their ABLE account like a retirement account. Currently, individuals can contribute above that $18,000 annual contribution limit up to whatever the federal poverty limit for a single household income is in your state. I know in Florida, that number is $13,580. That could be different depending on your state. But you could contribute up to even above that 18,000 to 33,000 or more if you're working. There's some other incentives you may take advantage of if you're utilizing your Able to Work contributions to your account, such as taking the tax savers credit and some other unique benefits. There might be even some state tax incentives as well for utilizing your account as a retirement account.
Interesting. So, Jolene, if a person saves some of his SSDI, Social Security Administration each month, can SSA reduce their monthly disability benefit? Can SSA claim since it is not being used / spent, the monthly benefit can now be reduced?
That's a challenging question, but if the money from your Social Security benefits, it can go into your ABLE account. It does not affect the amount that you get from Social Security. The things that affect your Social Security amount is your income. Again, ABLE is a resource shielding account. It is not an income shielding account. So Social Security will count income, but they won't count assets in an ABLE account. So they're not going to necessarily count the money in your ABLE account against you. They're not going to count that against you for how much they give you in a check, but they'll always look at your income.
Okay. John, we've been asked to further highlight how ABLE funds transferred out of the account are tracked. Can you discuss the ABLE technology that helps to track money in and out, debit cards, etc., and then explain how you can take money out and transfer to personal savings and checking, and then what happens to tracking?
All right, good question. And a lot of it really depends on your state's ABLE program or the ABLE program that you choose. Typically, there's 3 to 4 primary ways to get money out of an ABLE account. Typically, you can do an ACH transfer back to a connected bank account, and that could take 2 to 5 business days, just depending on how your state has been set up. For tracking purposes, when you log on to your ABLE account, you should see all historical transactions, and typically most ABLE programs are providing either monthly or quarterly statements on your account usage. So we have ACH transfers. You could also write a check or request a check. Some ABLE programs allow you to go online to request a check. They may even provide you with a checkbook. And once again, you write that check or request that check, and it's sent and paid to that third party or to yourself, depending on how you do it. The final option, and some options that some states have, is a debit card. And there's kind of 2 ways you can have a debit card. You can have what we call a reloadable or prepaid debit card. This allows you to take a transfer out of your ABLE account, put it on that prepaid debit card, and then use it wherever that debit card is accepted. It could be Visa, it could be MasterCard. Major players typically are in this arena. You may also have a debit card option where it's directly tied to your balance of your ABLE account. And similar, you can utilize that account or that debit card wherever your debit card is received or accepts. And so when it comes to the tracking, it's up for you to kind of keep receipts if you choose to. Typically, you can log onto your account and see where you utilize funds from. But once again, the IRS is looking at for the whole calendar year to see where you utilized your funds from your ABLE account from. But that's primarily the tracking methods, but it really is up to that individual to manage their ABLE account or whoever's overseeing their ABLE account and how it's being used.
Jolene, can you please restate what happens when someone who has an ABLE account passes away?
Well, it's going to depend on your ABLE account's rules. And so you want to check with the ABLE account that you have chosen. But generally, as far as that goes, is you may it may be transferred over to the estate administrator to manage that ABLE account and pay any remaining expenses. A very nice feature of the ABLE account is after an individual has passed, burial expenses and funeral expenses can be paid out of your ABLE account. And that's a really important feature. And in many ways, Medicaid, as far as estate recovery, is better. There are better protections with an ABLE account than many other accounts. You would just want to check with your particular ABLE account.
Okay, thank you, Jolene. John, what's the difference between an ABLE account and a special needs trust? And then can you have both tools to support the financial planning for people with disabilities?
All right, Mark, is this going into our third part of our webinar where we talk about special needs trusts and ABLE accounts? So
just give them the preview, John.
All joking aside, I'm actually doing a CLE on this for an hour and a half in a couple weeks. So high level, ABLE accounts and special needs trusts have the same goal in mind: to shelter resources to allow individuals to maintain their eligibility for public benefit programs, supplemental security income, Medicaid, Section 8, HUD housing, as many other federally means tested programs that are out there. So they both have the same goal: shelter resources allowed. Really, the differences are ABLE accounts are more of a save, put money away today, allow friends, family put money in, put your own money in, and it is limited to 18,000 per calendar year or more if you're not saving for retirement and working. A special needs trust is more of a long-term solution or a solution where you somehow received $1 million and weren't prepared. Now, I think the Powerball is up to 1.25 billion. So if you won that and wanted to keep your Medicaid, you would have to probably set up a special needs trust, because a special needs trust can hold millions, and in this instance, $1 billion, while still allowing you to be eligible for Medicaid services. When it comes to special needs trust, there is some language on first party, third party. It really comes down to whose money is it. So if you won the lotto, that's first party money. That's your money. Unplanned inheritance, personal injury award. Third party is when a family or a friend has set up this account. It's never your money. The great thing with the third party trust is that it can roll over to another family or another individual. But the great thing is both ABLE accounts and special needs trusts can work together. You don't have to necessarily have one or the other. You can have both. And often a special needs trust can fund an ABLE account. So that's an hour and a half and 30 seconds.
Thanks for summarizing. Jolene, can someone deposit their income into their ABLE account? And is there a possible way to directly deposit their income into their ABLE account?
Yes, absolutely. You can put money into your ABLE account from your income. Again, remembering that income always counts against Social Security if you're on those benefits. Now, many programs in the United States offer direct deposit, so you would have to check with your specific ABLE program if it allowed direct deposit, and then also with your employer as well as to whether they allow direct deposit out of your wages. But if all that aligns, you absolutely can direct deposit money into your ABLE account from your work. I like to say, if you can set it and forget it, because how many of us have a direct deposit and we just don't even think about that in our income?
So true. John, is the earnings within the ABLE account earning off the investment considered income for benefits like SSI?
No. No, I that's the easiest question I've had all day. So yeah, that's what's great is money in the account. If it grows, if you get an interest rate on it, none of that's going to count for the beneficiary. Even when you make a withdrawal from the account, that's still not going to count as income for any of your means tested programs, SSI, Medicaid.
Love it. I thought you were going to say no, period. Next question.
Yeah, I could have easily.
Jolene, there were a number of questions on using ABLE money overseas. Can you confirm spending funds outside of the USA?
Okay, I'm going to need one thing that's very important is you check with your individual ABLE program and see what their rules are as far as if you go outside the country or have any other transactions outside the country. Generally, ABLE accounts are for in United States only, but there are caveats and there are rules for different ABLE programs as far as maybe you're stationed somewhere out of the United States for a period of time, or you have a circumstance where you're outside of the United States. But check with your ABLE program.
Love it. John, can you provide a detailed explanation for transfer from a 529 college savings account to ABLE? How is this done? What are the max contributions? Is it free? And can you transfer from ABLE back to 529?
Ooh, these are all great questions. So all 12 of them. So yes, you can roll over a college savings plan, a 529 plan over to an ABLE account. Most states are going to offer two different types of forms, what we call a direct rollover, which is where you provide information to your ABLE program. They reach out to the 529 account and that money is transferred over directly to the ABLE program. Another one is called an indirect rollover from a 529. This is where you go to your college savings plan saying, hey, I want to close and roll those funds over to an ABLE. They'll give you a check. Typically, you're going to know how much of that check is in interest, how much of it is the money that you've put in or basis, as well as how much you've contributed to that 529 this year, so they can make sure it counts towards that $18,000 limit, and then you can deposit that. As I mentioned, the $18,000 limit is applicable for 529s. So for example, I was at an event last week where a family had more than $18,000 in their 529 college savings plan. For them, they would have to roll over multiple years in order to get the entire 529 plan rolled over. Now, when it comes from moving the ABLE plan to a 529 plan, once again, you can utilize your ABLE account for a variety of expenses, including higher education expenses. However, if that 529 is purchased and it's under your name and you might be on a public benefit, since you're the owner of that 529 and it's not protected like an ABLE account, it may count as an asset or resource for you, and that can negatively impact your public benefit eligibility. So that's something to keep in mind. I think that's
Thanks,
all
John.
of them.
Jolene, if someone with a disability is not on any public benefits, can you explain why someone would still want an ABLE account? Are they still ABLE eligible? And then why would they want to have one?
Absolutely. And an ABLE account can be a fantastic financial vehicle for somebody even who's not on Social Security benefits. There's a couple of different kind of categories of that. Maybe it is someone who is not on benefits now, but may apply for them in the future. I have a friend who applied, is the account administrator for, or the authorized signatory for her daughter who has a disability. And her daughter is turning 18 and is going to be applying for SSI benefits, but the parents wanted to be able to put money into the ABLE account to shield that money from the resource test for when they applied for Social Security benefits for that daughter. If you are not on any public disability benefits, but qualify for an ABLE program with, again, you have to have your disability before age 26, the onset of your disability before age 26. You, again, you have to be either on SSI, SSDI, or those childhood disability benefits. John, you might have to help me remember. You have to have be on the list for compassionate allowances for Social Security. And that is easily, you can Google that, and it has the list of all of the disability criteria on that. Or you can take that form to your doctor and do a self-certification. Now, the benefits of an ABLE for somebody who's not on Social Security benefits is, number one, they tend to have a lower fee than many other accounts. They have lower fees for investing than many other accounts. And there are tax benefits. So many ABLE accounts have tax benefits, especially the biggie is you do not pay state or federal tax on any earnings within your ABLE account. So if you have a regular 401k, when you pull it out, you're going to pay taxes on the earnings in your 401k or other traditional retirement accounts. But in an ABLE account, you don't have to pay those. So it's absolutely a great financial vehicle, even if you're not on benefits, as long as you qualify.
Yeah, when the Able Age Adjustment Act does take effect, I'm going to use mine like a retirement account.
Absolutely. And Congress did this also hoping that they would be able to affect up to 1 million veterans as well. And so there's going to be so many people being able to take advantage of ABLE in January of 26.
Love it. John, can you explain the obstacles in transitioning money from an IRA to ABLE and discuss the possible penalties on the IRA side? While ABLE can accept the funds, there could be penalties on the IRA side.
All right, first of all, I want to test my mic to make sure you can hear me now. I think
Yes.
this is the first time I was told I was not loud enough. So I have adjusted my input level. So once again, I'm not a financial advisor or an attorney, so this is for educational purposes only. So when it comes to any retirement account, if you cash it out and you're not eligible to cash it out for retirement because you haven't met that age, you may have to pay whatever the taxes and or penalties are associated for doing that. So for an example, an IRA, if you decide to move that money over to an ABLE, you would first have to cash it out, pay whatever taxes or penalties there are for that, and then put over the leftover remains into an ABLE account. So best situation, talk to your financial advisor or an attorney on your unique situation to see how you can best utilize a retirement account and moving it over to an ABLE account.
Thanks, John. You don't have to yell at me.
Oh,
I'm just
now
joking.
I'm too loud.
I'm just joking. Jolene,
All right.
can you further explain the tax benefits for people giving money to someone's ABLE account? What are some examples of tax benefits, for example, for parents to give money to an ABLE account?
Well, again, this depends on your state. Here in Utah, for any contribution into an ABLE Utah account, you have to be a Utah resident, you get a 5% state tax credit. So other states have also done tax advantages for putting money into an ABLE account. And then again, that whole tax advantage on the earnings. So check with your specific ABLE account, but there may be tax advantages based on the state or the ABLE program that you are applying for or enrolling in.
And can I add to that, Mark? So a contribution to an ABLE account is considered a completed gift. So it's not like a donation you would make to a 501c3 or a nonprofit of some sort. So you can't deduct it from your federal taxes, but you may, as Jolene mentioned, have state income taxes. Florida, we don't have state income tax, so there is no income incentives here in the state of Florida.
Okay. John, can monies from a 401k from an employer go into the ABLE account?
So once again, I'll revert back to the IRA discussion on, there might be some additional details in that question, because I know on a federal level, what a lot of the ABLE today is working on is trying to get into employers to make an ABLE account an option for individuals instead of a traditional 401k or other type of employer-sponsored retirement program. Primarily is that may negatively impact them if they have a 401k and are receiving some type of public benefits. However, if their employer was able to contribute to their ABLE account, then it wouldn't negatively impact them. And so just like an IRA, a 401k, there's certain rules and regulations on when funds can be withdrawn, how you can use funds. For example, I think over the last several years, now you can utilize it for your first down payment on a home and then not be taxed. So there are some rules. Unfortunately, there's no specific rules as it relates to that, rolling it over or moving those funds over to an ABLE account without paying those fees.
Thanks, John. Okay, we have a lot more questions that were provided. We're going to work on answering the additional questions and helping to get everybody satisfied. Please stay tuned for the recording, which will be sent out soon. And then we're going to work on sending out the additional information on the questions that were posted that we did not get to address. But lastly, John and Jolene, last question for you both. What's the one thing you both think people should know about ABLE accounts or hopefully have learned from today's webinar?
You want me to go first?
Yes,
Of course, Jolene, ladies first.
Thank you. I think the biggest power of an ABLE account is the account can be owned and administered by the individual with the disability. That gives empowerment to that individual that you haven't had before. The ability to save over $2,000 in assets and to be able to be part of that conversation. I am saving, I am investing money, and to be able to come out of poverty more, to be able to save that money. So I think that's one of the biggest powers of the ABLE account.
Love it. John?
Yeah, and to kind of echo Jolene, is really it does solve it's a solution to a problem that has existed for decades. And finally, it allows and empowers individuals to live beyond a $2,000 threshold, which, you know, and nowadays is not even enough to pay for minor repairs on a home or a vehicle. So it really does provide a solution where you can either protect you from having more money and keeping your public benefits, or you can get that tax-free earnings, both. But then also to allow your friends, family, the people you know to help you alongside, come alongside you and help you without negatively impacting those benefits too. It's a win-win-win situation. So I encourage everybody, if you don't have an account and you're eligible, start today.
That's
Awesome.
great.
Well, thank you, Jolene and John, for sticking around and answering so many questions. I also want to thank Eric, Chris, John Stevens, everyone behind the scenes that helped make today's webinar possible. Doing big outreach events like this is what we really love to do. And so I hope that everyone will tune in for the next webinar. But in the meantime, go to abletoday.org and watch our podcast. Cheers.
Hi, Mark, it's Betty Ann. Can I just say something very quickly?
Oh, absolutely. Hey, Betty Ann.
Just back here, fast and furiously typing. Just wanted to let our viewers know we had over 427 questions come in. We were able to answer 205 of them, but as you said, we'll work to get to the others. So I just wanted people to know if they didn't get their question answered, it's because we had over 400 questions come in during this webinar. Thanks.
That's incredible. Outreach at its finest. Thank you, Betty Ann. And thank you all for joining today's webinar. See
Thank you,
soon.
Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.